Let me ask you something, and I want you to honestly sit with it for a moment. Have you ever been with someone and felt that quiet feeling deep inside that what existed between the two of you was different? Not just excitement, not just butterflies, something much deeper. It felt like they were not simply looking at you. It felt like they truly saw you. Maybe for the first time in a very long time, you felt completely understood by another person. Then the questions slowly started to appear. You wondered if they felt the same thing. You asked yourself, is this connection just as real for them as it is for me? Or maybe you worried that you were reading too much into every moment. Maybe you feared your heart was creating a story that wasn't really there. That quiet question can stay with someone for a long time, and if you've ever felt it, there is nothing wrong with you. In fact, the fact that you're asking those questions says something meaningful about who you are. It shows that you don't take love lightly. You care about something genuine. You are looking for a connection that goes beyond appearances and temporary excitement. In a world where many people settle for surface-level relationships and call them love, that desire for something real matters more than you realize. Stay with me, because what you're about to hear may completely change the way you understand deep emotional connection. So today, let's talk about something that many people rarely discuss. There is endless advice about attracting someone, keeping their attention, or making them pursue you. Some of that can be useful, but it often misses something much more important. Very few people talk about what it actually feels like when you leave a lasting mark on another person's heart. Not just their attention, not just their attraction, something much deeper than that. There is a huge difference between someone who thinks you are attractive and someone who is deeply moved by who you are as a person. Those are not the same experience, yet many people confuse them. They see interest and assume it must mean deep feelings, or they feel something powerful themselves and believe the other person must feel exactly the same. Then reality doesn't match their expectations, and the disappointment can be difficult to explain. It hurts in ways that even close friends may not fully understand. That is why it is important to recognize the difference, because once you understand it, you stop guessing and start seeing relationships much more clearly. Don't skip this part, because the next insight is one that many people discover far too late. When you truly touch someone's heart, the signs are often much quieter than people expect. Someone who has been deeply affected by you does not only think about you when they are lonely or bored. We have all met people who send messages late at night, enjoy spending time together, laugh, flirt, and seem interested for a while, only to disappear or keep everything on the surface. When that happens, it is easy to wonder what you did wrong. You replay conversations, you question yourself, but the truth is often much simpler. There may have been attraction, there may even have been genuine interest, but something deeper had not yet developed. Sometimes that deeper connection grows slowly as trust grows. Other times it never happens at all. That does not mean you were not enough. It simply means that the other person at that stage of their life may not have been emotionally ready to experience that level of closeness. Their limits are not a reflection of your value. That is an important truth to remember whenever you begin blaming yourself for someone else's inability to connect on a deeper level. A person whose heart has truly been touched behaves differently, and the difference is not always dramatic. In fact, the strongest signs are often found in the smallest moments. They remember little things you mentioned weeks ago because those words stayed with them. They notice details that most people overlook. They pay attention without needing to impress you. Sometimes you catch them looking at you from across a room, not in a way that feels controlling or performative, but in a quiet way that almost seems thoughtful, as if they are trying to understand feelings they cannot fully explain yet. Those moments usually come naturally. They cannot be forced or planned. Real emotional connection grows on its own. It develops through honesty, trust, shared experiences, and emotional safety. That is why you cannot manufacture it by following tricks or playing games. The strongest connections are never created through perfect strategies. They are built when two people gradually allow themselves to be fully seen. Keep watching, because what comes next reveals one of the clearest signs that someone's feelings have moved far beyond simple attraction. You cannot force that kind of connection into existence. You cannot follow the perfect script and expect another person's heart to respond in a deep and meaningful way. Real connection does not work like that. The greatest strength you have is something much simpler. It is having the courage to be completely yourself without pretending to be someone you are not. When the right person meets the real you, they feel it. Hearts do not respond to perfect performances. They respond to honesty. They respond to authenticity. The deepest relationships are not built because someone always said the perfect words or looked flawless every single day. They grow because two people slowly allow themselves to be seen exactly as they are. Real connection begins the moment you stop trying to impress and start allowing yourself to simply exist as your true self. That is where trust begins. That is where emotional closeness grows. Stay with me because the next part explains why so many people struggle to believe they are worthy of this kind of love in the first place. For many people, the hardest part is not finding someone. It is believing that someone could truly appreciate the depth they carry inside. Maybe you have been hurt before. Maybe more than once. Maybe you gave your whole heart to someone who treated your love as if it was too much. Maybe you trusted someone who simply did not know how to receive everything you were willing to give. Instead of seeing that as their limitation, you slowly started blaming yourself. You wondered if you cared too deeply. You questioned whether your emotions were too intense. You may have even convinced yourself that the kind of connection you wanted did not really exist. But hear this clearly: you have never been too much. What happened was that you offered something valuable to someone who was not emotionally prepared to receive it. That experience can leave deep scars. It can make you believe you should become smaller just to avoid getting hurt again. Yet your depth has never been the problem. The problem was placing it in hands that were not ready to protect it. Don't skip this part, because understanding this one truth can completely change the way you see your past. Pain has a way of teaching people to hide. After enough disappointment, many begin protecting themselves by pretending they care less than they actually do. They avoid showing their emotions. They act distant. They convince themselves that staying guarded is the safest option. And honestly, that response makes sense after being hurt. Protecting yourself is natural. But over time, that protection comes with a hidden cost. The walls that keep pain out can also keep real love from getting in. If no one can truly see you, no one can truly know you either. Deep love cannot grow where constant pretending exists. At some point, the walls have to come down, not all at once, not with everyone, but little by little with someone who consistently earns your trust. Vulnerability should never be rushed. It should be shared carefully with someone whose actions continue to prove they are worthy of receiving it. That is how strong relationships are built, not through perfection, but through safety, honesty, and patience. Keep listening, because the next sign is one of the clearest ways to recognize whether someone truly values your heart. One of the strongest signs is found in how someone responds to your emotions. Not only when life is easy, not only when you are smiling and everything feels light. Pay attention to what they do when you are stressed, afraid, disappointed, or overwhelmed. Someone who genuinely cares about you does not disappear the moment emotions become difficult. They do not quickly change the subject. They do not make you feel as though your feelings are a burden that needs to be fixed or ignored. Instead, they remain present. They may not always know the perfect words to say. They may even feel unsure of how to help, but they stay. That quiet decision to remain beside you during difficult moments speaks louder than any romantic speech ever could. It shows emotional maturity. It shows respect. Many people grow up believing emotions should be hidden, solved quickly, or pushed aside. Because of that, some become uncomfortable whenever feelings become real. They step back because they do not know how to handle emotional closeness. Others respond very differently. Instead of pulling away, something inside them begins to grow. They become more patient. They become more understanding. They genuinely want to become someone capable of meeting you where you are. They are not changing because they were forced to. They are changing because your honesty inspired something better within them. That quiet shift is one of the clearest signs of a connection that reaches far beyond simple attraction. And what comes next may be the most misunderstood part of all, because true vulnerability looks very different from what most people have been taught to believe. Many people imagine vulnerability in only one way. They picture tears, emotional speeches, dramatic confessions, or unforgettable movie moments where everything is finally said out loud. Sometimes it can look like that, but most of the time it is much quieter. Real vulnerability often appears in ordinary moments that almost go unnoticed. It might happen on a normal evening when someone unexpectedly says something honest that even surprises them. It might appear when they casually share a memory from their past that very few people know, almost as if they forgot to keep their guard up around you. It may happen when they ask for your opinion about something that truly matters because your thoughts have become important to them. Those simple moments often reveal far more than dramatic declarations ever could. If you spend all your time waiting for a grand emotional confession, you may overlook the small signs that quietly reveal what someone is truly feeling. Pay close attention to what they choose to tell you when there is no pressure to explain anything. Notice the conversations that happen naturally. Notice the stories they trust only you with. That is often where genuine connection quietly reveals itself. Stay with me, because the next insight explains one of the clearest signs that someone's feelings have become much deeper than simple attraction. There is another important truth that many people misunderstand. When someone has been deeply affected by you, they often develop a quiet sense of care that has nothing to do with control. This difference is incredibly important. Some people try to control who you spend time with, what you do, or how you live your life, and they call that love. But control is not the same as care. Possessiveness is often driven by fear and insecurity, not genuine affection. Real care feels completely different. It shows itself in small, thoughtful ways. They notice when your mood changes before you even mention it. They pay attention when your smile seems different. Even in a crowded room, they naturally check to see if you are okay. When someone treats you unfairly, they genuinely feel concerned, not because their pride has been hurt, but because your well-being matters to them. This kind of care cannot be forced. It grows naturally when someone has formed a meaningful emotional bond with you. Your peace begins to matter to them because, in some quiet way, your happiness has become connected to their own. That kind of concern does not come from obligation or expectation. It comes from sincere affection. Don't skip this part, because what comes next may completely change the way you think about your own role in love. Now let us shift the focus for a moment. In conversations about relationships, people often become so focused on the other person that they forget to ask themselves the most important questions. So let me ask you something honestly. Do you truly know your own value? Not the answer you give on your best days when confidence comes easily. I mean during the quiet moments when nobody else is around. Deep inside, do you really believe you deserve a love that reaches your heart? Do you believe you deserve someone who thinks about you because you genuinely change something inside them, not simply because you happen to be available? Do you believe you deserve to receive the same depth so you really give to others? These questions matter more than most people realize, because the way you see yourself quietly shapes the kind of relationships you allow into your life. If part of you believes you must constantly earn love, you may accept less than you deserve without even realizing it. But when you truly understand your worth, your choices begin to change. You stop chasing what cannot reach you where you are. You become more patient, you become more selective, and that changes everything. One thing becomes very clear after watching countless relationships unfold. The people who build the deepest emotional connections are not always the most attractive, the most successful, or the most outgoing. They are often the ones who have spent time understanding themselves. They know who they are beyond other people's opinions. They carry a quiet confidence that does not need constant attention or approval. They are comfortable being authentic instead of pretending to be perfect. That quiet certainty creates emotional safety, and emotional safety is where real love begins to grow. People naturally feel more comfortable opening their hearts to someone who is secure enough to simply be themselves. Authenticity invites authenticity. Trust encourages trust. Vulnerability inspires vulnerability. That is why the strongest relationships are rarely built through games or strategies. They are built when two people slowly choose honesty over fear, connection over pretending, and understanding over appearances. Keep watching, because the next lesson reveals why the strongest love is never something you have to force. It is something that grows naturally when both hearts are ready to meet each other with openness, respect, and genuine care. It is not arrogance. It is not pretending to be perfect. It is not acting as though you have everything figured out. Real confidence is much quieter than that. It is a calm, grounded understanding of your own value that does not depend on someone else's approval. You do not need constant reassurance because you already know who you are. That quiet confidence has a powerful effect on people. When someone meets a person who values themselves without demanding endless validation, something naturally shifts. They do not feel pressured to perform or constantly prove their worth. Instead, they feel safe enough to simply be themselves. There is something deeply refreshing about being around someone who is genuine. Authenticity has a way of inviting authenticity. A peaceful sense of self encourages others to lower their own walls. It creates an environment where honest connection becomes possible. Instead of feeling judged, they feel accepted. Instead of feeling tested, they feel understood. That kind of presence cannot be copied or faked. It grows from truly knowing yourself. Stay with me, because the next truth may completely change the way you think about attracting meaningful love. If you find yourself wondering how to create this kind of connection with someone, the answer is probably much simpler than you expect. Focus on becoming the healthiest version of yourself, not for another person, but for your own life. Heal the parts of your heart that still question your value. Build a life that genuinely excites you when you wake up each morning. Invest in friendships that encourage you. Discover hobbies that make you feel alive. Create a life that feels full, whether you are in a relationship or not. That inner fulfillment changes the way you show up in every connection. People are naturally drawn towards someone who already enjoys their own life. They can feel the difference. That energy reaches others in a way that constant effort never can. It is not about trying harder to be loved. It is about becoming so comfortable in your own skin that your peace quietly speaks for itself. The strongest relationships are often built between two people who already know how to enjoy life on their own and simply choose to share that joy together. Don't skip this part, because the next lesson explains a difference that many people confuse without even realizing it. There is an important difference between genuine love and emotional dependence. From the outside, they can sometimes look very similar. Both may involve strong feelings and constant attention. But underneath, they come from completely different places. When someone truly loves you, they often become inspired to grow. Being around you encourages them to become a better version of themselves. They do not improve because you make them feel inadequate. They improve because your presence reminds them of the person they want to become. That is healthy love. It creates growth, respect, and lasting connection. Emotional dependence feels very different. It often begins with overwhelming intensity. Everything moves quickly. The attention feels endless. They make you feel like the center of their entire world almost immediately. At first, that can feel exciting, especially if you have been waiting a long time to feel deeply seen. But as time passes, you begin to notice something important. The intensity was not always about who you truly are. It was often about what you represented to them emotionally. They needed something from you that went beyond healthy connection. Keep listening, because this next difference may help you recognize the kind of love that truly lasts. Real love is never driven by desperation. The deepest connections carry a quiet sense of peace beneath all the emotions. They are not chaotic. They are not exhausting. They do not leave you constantly wondering where you stand. Instead, they grow steadily over time. They become stronger through trust, honesty, and consistency. Intensity may feel exciting in the beginning, but intensity without a solid foundation rarely lasts. It burns brightly for a while and then leaves confusion behind. Healthy love feels completely different. It allows you to become more of yourself instead of less. It gives you energy instead of draining it. It feels safe instead of uncertain. It feels like coming home rather than constantly searching for reassurance. That kind of connection truly exists. There are people who, even years later, still speak with deep respect about someone who changed their life. Not because of grand gestures or perfect moments, but because of the person they became while sharing time together. They remember conversations that stayed with them long after they ended. They remember feeling accepted without needing to pretend. They remember discovering a version of themselves that only appeared in the presence of someone who made them feel genuinely understood. Those are the connections that leave a lasting mark. They are built on honesty, emotional safety, mutual growth, and quiet respect. And when you experience that kind of love, you no longer feel the need to chase intensity because you finally understand that real love does not shout to be noticed. It quietly transforms the lives of both people, one honest moment at a time. That is what it truly means to leave a lasting impression on someone's heart. It is not about being unforgettable because of dramatic moments or grand gestures. It is about being so genuine that your presence stays with them long after the moment has passed. Real connection is created through honesty, not performance. It comes from having the courage to show your true self in a world that often encourages people to hide behind masks. Most people spend so much time trying to impress others that they forget the power of simply being authentic. Yet the deepest relationships are almost always built on that quiet authenticity. People remember how they felt around someone who made them feel safe enough to be themselves. They remember the peace, the trust, and the freedom that came with being accepted without pretending. Stay with me, because the next part may completely change the way you approach love from this day forward. There is one misunderstanding that deserves special attention. Sometimes people hear ideas like this and immediately turn them into another goal to achieve. They begin asking themselves, what should I do? What should I say? How can I make someone feel this deeply about me? That reaction is completely understandable. When we truly want something, we naturally search for a formula that promises success. But this is where many people lose sight of what really matters. The moment genuine connection becomes a strategy, it begins to lose its authenticity. Clever techniques may create curiosity. They may attract attention for a while. They may even build temporary excitement, but they cannot create the kind of lasting emotional connection we have been talking about. Hearts do not respond to carefully planned performances. They respond to sincerity. They respond to truth. The deepest bonds grow through honest conversations, shared experiences, quiet vulnerability, and the willingness to be seen exactly as you are. Those moments cannot be forced. They cannot be rehearsed. They can only happen when you stop trying to create an image and simply allow your real self to exist. Don't skip this part because the next lesson brings everything together. Everything we have explored today leads back to one simple truth. The strongest relationships always begin with the relationship you have with yourself. They begin with healing. They begin with self-awareness. They begin with learning who you are so deeply that you no longer feel the need to perform for anyone. When you reach that place, something remarkable happens. You move through life with quiet confidence instead of constant fear. You stop apologizing for your feelings. You stop hiding your depth just to make other people comfortable. You stop waiting for someone else's approval before believing in your own worth. That kind of inner peace is rare, and rare qualities naturally leave lasting impressions. People remember someone who is comfortable being authentic because authenticity gives others permission to do the same. Real confidence is not loud. It does not seek attention. It quietly creates trust. It encourages honesty. It builds emotional safety without needing to announce itself. That is the kind of presence that changes relationships in ways words alone never can. Keep listening, because the final message may be the one your heart has needed all along. The deepest love is not something that suddenly appears out of nowhere. It grows slowly between two people who choose honesty over pretending and courage over fear. It grows through ordinary moments that nobody else notices. It grows when both people stay present during difficult conversations instead of running away. Most importantly, it grows from the inside out. It begins with the way you see yourself long before anyone else enters your life. Stop waiting for someone else to make you feel worthy. Arrive at your own life already knowing your value. You never have to earn the kind of love that is truly meant for you. You never have to perform your way into someone's heart. Your greatest responsibility is simply to become the person you were always meant to be. When you do that, the right connection naturally finds room to grow into something meaningful. You are not asking for too much because you want someone who truly understands you. You are not unrealistic because you long for love that feels deep and genuine. You are not too sensitive. You are not too emotional. You are not too much. You are already enough exactly as you are. And one day, with the right person, at the right time, and in the right season of life, everything that makes you who you are will quietly touch something inside another heart that has been waiting for exactly that kind of truth. It will change both of you, not through noise or drama, but through the quiet strength that real love always carries. That is the kind of love worth waiting for. That is the kind of love worth preparing yourself for. Not because someone else has earned the best version of you, but because you deserve to experience the kind of love that allows you to remain completely, honestly, and beautifully yourself.